So we pick up in this movie with Jane in England trying to forget about Thor. She's come to England on the request of Erik Selvig, who is doing more like crazy theoretical physics research and so forth, and said, you gotta get over here. And then he's nowhere to be found. And it just raises the immediate question for me is, why is she still freelance?
Yeah, like, the only thing that I can think that she's still freelance is that in the first movie, she has a run-in with the S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. steals all of her notes. They're general assholes to her. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's why she doesn't work for S.H.I.E.L.D. But then again, Selvig was working for S.H.I.E.L.D. in Avengers. He was the main guy that was trying to figure out the Cosmic Cube. Mm-hmm. They even teased that at the end of the first Thor. Mm-hmm. So, are we to assume that after the events of the Avengers, both of them were just not at all part of S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore? Mm-hmm. And
cut them off.
Yeah. So this doesn't make any sense to me. It seems like because of their close relationship to Thor, and if you've seen the S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, mm-hmm. they seem to have tabs on pretty much everyone. That's one of their big deals. Like, oh yeah, we know where everybody is at all times. Even, like different, not even just the Avengers, but different superpowered people and stuff. So why wouldn't they be keeping tabs on Jane and Selvig? Right, at least, if they're not being...
If they're not already working, right, exactly. So, and for the purposes of setting them up in a position where they could meet up with Thor again, it just seems like if they were trying to get there, having Jane and or Erik Selvig working for S.H.I.E.L.D. still on some sort of project would have been a really easy and logical way to go, and for some reason it just... I guess maybe they're worried that people are going to get burned out on S.H.I.E.L.D. That's my best guess as to why that
people are going to get burned out on S.H.I.E.L.D. because of the TV show.
Not because of their appearances in movies, it's true.
Mm-hmm. And this leads to my second why. Why not, instead of immediately starting to suck the ether out of Jane, take Jane to the place where you need to use the ether during the convergence to destroy the universe, because you know that Thor will not try to kill Jane. So it's like, oh, well, we have Jane, she's not dead. Obviously you will be pursued by Thor, mm-hmm. but he's not going to destroy or try to destroy the ether or you until, mm-hmm. until she's in some sort of safe situation. And Loki dies an honorable death. Like, the whole thing is like, oh, well, he's trying to help Thor and save him, and now he's redeemed himself from all the shit he did in the other two movies, in Avengers and Thor.
But the problem with it is that if you pay attention, you know what an enormously popular character Loki is. You know that he has a penchant for casting illusions and deceiving people. So what happens next is the most telegraphed thing in this movie, to me anyway.
Well, it doesn't happen next. Well,
it happens like 10 minutes later, where he gets up. And then the very next scene, Loki gets up from being a dead guy, apparently, and now he takes on the shape of a Asgardian guard.
Yeah.
And then, and this is a little bit out of order, but I want to focus on the story point here. So now he's impersonating an Asgardian guard. He goes back to Asgard. Okay, number one, you just escaped prison. Why go back to prison?
Right?
And pretend to be like... It just seemed like it would have been a perfect opportunity for him to...
Go anywhere else.
To literally go anywhere else. Thor thinks he's dead. He's escaped from prison. This is the time to retreat and rebuild your power in secret.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome.
Yeah.
But no, he goes right back to Asgard and then reports to Odin himself that Loki's body was found in Svartalfheim.
Yeah. Which again, there were only 3 people that went there. Anybody in Asgard would probably know that.
And here's the other thing: not only does he go back to jail, he goes back and talks to the chief jailer, Odin, the most powerful person in the realm, the person most capable probably of seeing through his bullshit, the person most capable of putting a hard stop on his bullshit.
Yeah.
And he goes right up and talks to him.
And thankfully Odin is just not in his game. He's not on his game at all. So.
No, he's being a bumbling idiot this entire movie, so he doesn't see through the illusion at all.
Yeah.
you pointed this out to me in the theater.
Oh, yeah.
The ending with Loki, where he reveals himself to be impersonating Odin, the CG in the background is
really bad.
It's noticeably worse than the rest of the CG in the movie.
It's a really big giveaway. It's basically just a two-shot. It's just Thor and then Odin, and it's them talking back and forth. There's not like a sweeping camera or anything. It's just back and forth between the two. And when they cut to Thor, the columns in the background of Odin's throne room just look a little off, like the lighting and everything. And for the rest of the movie is beautiful. Mm-hmm. They do it really well.
Even in 3D. Even as a movie that wasn't
it was post 3D, and the 3D wasn't terrible. It wasn't like anything special, but it wasn't really shit either.
Right.
But yeah, that CGI in that final scene makes me think that when it probably comes out, when it eventually comes out on DVD, that they'll probably have a few like alternate endings, or maybe if they don't want people to know that they fucked it up so bad, that they might not. But I have to assume that at some point they rushed that ending, where they played it to test audiences, and the audiences were like, "That's dumb."
Yeah. So then they had to rush in and put a new ending in. So that, or I don't know. I get the sense that there's a lot of cut material, and I find myself really hoping that we get some kind of expanded edition here when it is released on DVD.
Yeah, there were so many things being jumbled in that movie.
That surely there, it came in under 2 hours.
It was like almost like an hour and a half.
Which is kind of weird.
It's a normal amount for a movie, not really for a Marvel movie though. Marvel movies tend to be around 2 hours long.
Right. Which is fine.
Yeah.
I've grown used to it.
Yeah.
So then Thor walks off like, "Hey, I get to go and do my thing." Spoiler. Guess what? It's Loki.
What?
Loki somehow has managed to defeat Odin and has now impersonating him, and it works out really great because the person who is probably most capable of seeing through Loki's bullshit, Frigga, is dead.
Yeah.
The person who would be most likely to say, "Wait, you're not Odin," is dead. So Loki is in such a good scenario now, and this is the moment that really hammers through the dark, empire-y sort of feeling of this movie. Is that while Malekith wanted to destroy the universe and Loki just wants to rule it, Loki's still the central villain of this Thor story overall. The whole Thor story. And so with him now ascended to the throne of Asgard without even Thor knowing about it, even though Thor saved the universe, it still comes across as feeling like an extraordinary defeat.
Oh yeah. And that's okay. And that's the end of the movie. And then we do the pre-credits. And again, Marvel, please, no one cares. Just throw it. Put your end of your movie at the end of the... You want a teaser? Put it at the end of the fucking movie. Mm-hmm. Before the credits. Put your ending and your pre-ending or post-ending or your teaser endings. Pack up all your endings in a bag and toss them over the credits where they should be right at the top, because this shit is ridiculous. First, we get the first ending, which is Loki like, haha.
I'm Odin.
And then we get the second ending, which is the teaser ending for, which assumedly is leading into Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, spoilers. Volstagg and Sif are taking the now captured Ether to a dude that is known as the Collector. Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a heavy hitter in the Marvel mythos. He's a
Beyonder level.
He's one of the elders of the universe, like supposedly like the first race of sentient beings in the universe that like we're all immortal, and to not drive themselves insane, they all basically take up a serious hobby.
Yeah.
I'm not even really paraphrasing it that much. That's literally what it is.
That's pretty much it.
And the Collector, to keep himself from going insane, decides to collect rare and unusual things. And unfortunately, that also means people and living things. So he's got this like bizarre museum filled up with all these
curios and people. It's like a zoo/museum.
Right. So he's kind of a dicey dude, you know, and so
they're like, well, we can't keep it at Asgard, so We can't keep it at Asgard.
Because we already have the Tesseract there.
And that is an Infinity Stone.
And we can't keep 2 Infinity Stones in the same place. Marvel, we need to talk.
Let's talk.
So, what was wrong with Infinity Gems?
Couldn't we just have Infinity Gems? And also, I would like to point out that in the Marvel Universe, the Tesseract... Nobody ever called it that in the comic books, by the way. That's a movie thing. The Tesseract. The Cosmic Cube.
The Cosmic Cube. That's what it's called in the comics, and that's what we're going to refer to it here. The Cosmic Cube's great, but you know what it isn't? It's not an Infinity Gem. It's not an Infinity Gem. It's not an Infinity Stone. It's not connected.
It's not an Infinity anything.
It's not a piece of the set. It's a totally different, force of incredible power. You can't do that, Marvel. You can't say that one MacGuffin is another MacGuffin.
Right.
That's stupid.
The other thing that really bothers me about that is that if you're going to make them both Infinity Gems, I can kind of see that if they did different things. But, and just to preface, the Cosmic Cube in the comic books is this thing that whoever holds it can reshape reality. Mm-hmm. That's real fucking big. The Infinity Gauntlet with all of the Infinity Gems is a relic that can reshape reality. Both of them basically give you omnipotence. I would kind of forgive it if the Cosmic Cube did a specific thing, like if the Cosmic Cube only transported people, or the Cosmic Cube only powered weapons. But it does both. Mm-hmm. The Cosmic Cube has the power to transport things. It was used to power up weapons in Captain America.
Right.
That kind of shit. And the Ether does kind of a similar thing. It gives power, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You can use it as a power source, which they apparently did in the use of their singularity grenades, and also the thing that turns people into curse.
Yeah, you get that feeling because everything's kind of that same shade of red that the
Ether is.
That the Ether is.
So, in other words, the Infinity Stones now they both do the exact same thing. Well, guess what? The Infinity Gems don't do the exact same thing. They each have very different abilities. The Time Gem allows you to travel through time, slow down time, or speed up time. The Power Gem allows you to have unsurmountable strength, stamina, speed, etc.
Right. Each thing does a different thing.
It does a different thing.
But they're both very similar, and that's the problem. They're not defined by one sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating. We're going to give you this Ether, the Collector, so that you can hold on to it.
Even though you're obviously a dicey guy and we don't really trust you.
Yeah. Played by Benicio del Toro, who's channeling Henry Dean Morgan, channeling...
Javier Bardem, channeling... No, those guys all look the same. But no, he's... I read in an interview or in like a tidbit somewhere that he had been cast in that role and that he was kind of trying to channel a little Liberace, apparently.
Who I feel like Javier Bardem was trying to do in Skyfall.
Yeah. So it goes. It's a big circle of people who look alike impersonating the same people who look like other people who are impersonating. It's a vicious cycle.
It's like if somebody got Johnny Depp, or if somebody got somebody like Johnny Depp to be like, "Oh, I was channeling Mick Jagger." Like, come on now.
So Benicio del Toro shows up being the space super creep, and he's like, "Oh, an Infinity Stone. Why are you bringing it to me?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we can't keep them both in the same place. It's not very wise." And he's like, "Very well. I'll keep it totally safe, and you won't have to worry about a thing."
And they walk away,
stares at them as they walk away. And then the second they get out the door, he says, "1 down, 5 to go." And it's like, oh, god damn it. Damn it.
And even if and so we have to assume that he's probably in league with Thanos. And even if he isn't, his name is the fucking Collector.
What did you think was going to happen?
So we get that before the actual credits. We get the ending with Loki, then we get the pre-credits, then we get the ending with the Collector, and then we get the actual credits, which go on for as long as credits do, especially when you have so many fucking rotoscopers. And then you get to that end, and then it's Thor going back to Earth and meeting up with Jane. Which the only thing that really does for us is tell us that he's going to be on Earth for the events of Guardians of the Galaxy, specifically.
Right, and they put the emotional resolution of the movie after the credits. which is a terrible mistake.
That's awful! Like, even if it is like, oh, we had to put something in after the credits. Like, no, you didn't. Again, put it in a sack, throw it over the credits.
It's fine.
That's fine.
Don't worry about it. But yeah, no, to move that where he gets back together with Jane and there's this big kind of romantic moment and everything, and just kind of, it seems like an afterthought. It seems like they filmed the whole movie and then they got to the end and they're editing it together and then it's like, hey, you know what we never did? We never got Thor and Jane together, but at the end of the credits.
Put it at the end.
We'll just film it real quick.
They were going to expect something at the end of the credits, just put it at the end.
And speaking of rushed endings,
peanut butter disaster.